Okay. The next thing we have to find is what? The axis of symmetry. So it's not asking me for my y-intercepts. We're going to find my axis of symmetry. We did a couple of these yesterday. How do we find my axis of symmetry? What do I have to do with my x-intercepts?
Oh, you add them together and then divide by 2.
Yeah. So I add them together and divide by 2. So my first x-intercept is 0 plus my second x-intercept, which is 2, and I divide that by 2. So 0 plus 2 is just 2 divided by 2. So what's my axis of symmetry?
0.
2 divided by 2?
1.
1. All right. So now I can find my vertex. So I know my axis of symmetry is x is equal to 1. So what can I do with that to help me find my vertex? Read it.
So we sub 1 into our factor form.
Yep. Either or doesn't matter. I like the factor form because you work with 2 separate brackets, which is easier to do. So I'm going to sub in 1 for x. So g of 1 is 3 times 1.
Sorry, we're finding the y-intercept, correct?
No, we're not. This is not asking to find y-intercept in this
We're
question.
finding the vertex?
Yeah.
Correct.
And then 1 minus 2. So let's start with the first one. What's 3 times 1? 3. What's 1 minus 2? So what is the y value of my vertex?
-3.
-3. Which means my vertex is going to be 1 and -3. So that's going to be my vertex.
Sorry, can you go over to find the vertex?
You have to use the axis of symmetry. So you see how our axis of symmetry was x is equal to 1? Now I have to take that 1 and plug it in for x in either my factored equation, which is 3x times x minus 2, or my standard form equation, which is 3x squared minus 6x. So you get to pick which one you want to plug that one into.
Okay. And we can do either one.
Yep. All right. So I have g of x is equal to x squared plus 10x plus 21. So you guys saw this a lot on the last unit test. How do I factor out this trinomial? X squared plus 10x plus 21. Jade.
Find the product and sum.
Yep. So it's my product.
21.
Sum. Okay. So I need two numbers that multiply to 21 but add up to the number 10. Jade, what are they?
7.
So 7 times 3 gives me 21, which is good. And 7 plus 3 gives me 10, which is also good. So how is this going to look like in factored form? Jade.
X squared plus
I just directly write. Jade.
x plus 7.
Yep. So because I don't have a number in front of the x squared, I can just write it as x plus 7 and x plus 3.
Would we get marked wrong if we did? Oh, for the number for the x squared and solved it? Or
What do you mean?
say if we put the x squared down and then did the rest, right?
Like the grouping thing?
Yeah,
You're just making extra work for yourself.
but if we accidentally do it, it's fine, right?
Yeah, but I would just write
Yeah.
no need. So now let's find my x-intercepts. So can someone tell me what my x-intercepts are going to be? Olivia.
Do I just say like both of them?
Yep.
-3 and -7.
Perfect. So x is equal to -3 and x is equal to -7. As you guys probably noticed the pattern, your x-intercept is always just opposite of what your sign is in the bracket. That's it. So now I'm going to find my axis of symmetry. Can someone remind me how to figure that out? Brooklyn.
We do -7 plus -3 divided by 2.
Perfect. So what's -7 plus -3? -10 divided by 2. So what is my axis of symmetry? Olivia? Yeah, -5. It's okay. -5. So my axis of symmetry is x is equal to -5, and that's where my graph splits exactly in half. Now the last thing I need to find is my vertex. So I know my axis of symmetry is x is equal to -5. So how do I use that in order to find my vertex? Ashton. Yeah, we'll plug it into the factored form. So I know g of x is equal to x plus 3 times x plus 7. So now I'm going to sub in -5 in for x. So g at -5. So this is function notation you guys learned in Unit 1. And now we're going to take that -5 and plug it in for our x values. So -5 plus 3 times -5 plus 7. So -5 plus 3, what would my first bracket have? -5 plus 3.
-2.
-2. Now my second bracket is -5 plus 7. What would that give me? +2. So what's -2 times +2? Okay, and what is my vertex now?
-4.
What's my vertex? -5,
-5 is +4.
-4.
-4. Sorry, I was thinking.
It's okay. Make this nicer looking. So remember, your vertex is your axis of symmetry first and then your y value. Yes, Brooklyn?
If you put the axis of symmetry, then the x equals -5 into the standard form, is that okay?
That's fine. I prefer the factored form because I'm working with two easy numbers and I don't have to worry about, having to square -2 and then multiplying it by a number and then doing the same thing with the 3x or the 10x. Yeah. So I'd rather just avoid that and just work on the two numbers.
Can we do F?
F?
Yeah.
On this one?
Yeah.
Sure.
No.
5F?
Yeah.
Sure. So for 5F, I have g of x is equal to -6x squared plus 24. Okay, so is this a trinomial? No. So now I have to figure out the greatest common factor. So what number can I factor out, Brooklyn? -6. So if I factor out -6, what's left in my bracket?
X squared plus 4.
No, not plus.
-4.
-4. Now, we learned this, I think, last unit. Yeah, last unit. What is this called? When we have a negative in the middle and two terms. Jade. What's the other one called? What's that minus mean? What's another word, Olivia? Difference of squares. Okay, so how would I factor out this difference of squares? What do I have to do? I'm going to square root both terms. So what's the square root of x squared?
X.
Okay, so we have two brackets. What's the square root of 4? 2. Okay, so one bracket is going to have a positive and the other one's going to have a negative.
Does it matter which order it's in?
Pardon?
Does it matter which order it's in?
No, you can have x minus 2 first and x plus 4, x plus 2 after.
Why is it different?
Because when we write trinomials, Cynthia, what do we always have in the middle?
X?
Do we have an x in this case in the middle? No, we have two terms. So the reason why it's written as x plus 2 and x minus 2, if I expand it, so I'm just going to write it on the side here, I get x squared minus 2x plus 2x minus 4. So what's negative 2x plus 2x? 0. So you're left with x squared minus 4. That's why. So you don't have that middle term.
So is that what?
Okay, so now I need to figure out my x-intercepts. What would my x-intercepts be? Olivia? Yep, x is equal to negative 2, and x is equal to positive 2. X is symmetry. What am I doing?
Sorry, does it matter which order the x-intercepts are in?
Usually you would write them from like least to greatest. So negative 2 first and then 2.
Okay.
Sarah, do you have your hand up?
Oh, no.
Oh.
But would it matter
Mm,
sometimes?
only when you're, I mean, it doesn't really matter because you're going to graph it regularly anyway, so it doesn't matter. Just put it in. Sorry, Jade?
Do we have two x-intercepts because there's 2 points on the graph?
Yep. So there's 2 times on the graph where it crosses the x-axis. Yep. Parabola. Parabola. Read it.
How come the negative 6 be involved to find an x-intercept?
So that negative 6, is there a variable assigned to it? No. So that's just called a constant, which means it's always going to be negative 6. So I can't really solve for it because there's no variable. So how do I find my axis of symmetry again? What do I do? Ashton. Yep. So x is equal to negative 2 plus 2 divided by 2. What's negative 2 plus 2, guys? 0 divided by 2. X is equal to 0. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to find is my vertex. So I know my axis of symmetry is x is equal to 0. So what do I do next? Ashton. We'll plug it into the factored form. So g of x is equal to negative 6 times x plus 2 times x minus 2. Sub in 0 for x. So I get g of 0 is equal to negative 6 times 0 plus 2 times 0 minus 2. So 0 plus 2 is obviously positive 2, and 0 minus 2 is negative 2. So when I multiply those three numbers together, what would I get?
So Lisa online. 24.
Positive 24. So what's my vertex then?
0.
Yep, perfect. 0 and 24.
So Christina.
Yep.
Will you ever make us do a test without a calculator?
No.
Oh my gosh, I agree to teach him something.
I mean, if you're comfortable without one, it's fine. If you need one, it's fine.
I appreciate it.
What am I going to save?
I think
What am I going to save? So let's do 7F. So this one is a complex trinomial. So all this is asking me to do is to find the maximum or minimum value for each function, which means just find the vertex. So 7F is g of x is equal to 4x squared plus 4x minus 3. Yep.
How do you know when to use g of x and f of x?
Oh, it should always be written as f of x, but in the textbook, you can write like h of x, g of x, z of x, the same thing. So I need to know a way how to factor this trinomial. So what do I do? Olivia?
So there's no greatest common factor,
Mhm.
and the first value is not 1, so
Yep.
that'd be 4 times negative 3.
Yep. So that's going to be my product. So what is that? 4 times negative 3.
Negative 12.
Okay, and what is my sum?
4.
Positive 4. So two numbers that multiply to negative 12 and add up to 4. What are they? Brooklyn?
6 times negative 2.
6 times negative 2 is negative 12, so we're good. And 6 plus negative 2 is 4, so we are good. So now I'm going to rewrite it. So this is where you would rewrite the whole grouping thing because there's a number in front of my x squared. So I would write 4x squared minus 2x plus 6x minus 3. And now we're going to go pair by pair. So I'm going to focus on 4x squared and negative 2x. What's my greatest common factor? 2x. So if I divide everything by 2x, what do I get?
2x.
Okay.
It's 2x.
So I get 2x, and what's my last one? Minus 1.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yep.
So does it matter which order, like, you put the 2 and the 6 in?
No, I just like putting it in order and where they're divisible by the first term of the last term.
Oh, you know, that makes more sense because what I realized on the test is that sometimes I think I messed it up and I put them in like the wrong spot and it didn't
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah.
So it's kind of trying.
So I just like putting numbers together that are divisible by each other or have a common factor.
Okay.
So yeah. So now the next one is 6x and 3. What can I factor out? Positive 3. So divide everything by 3. So I'm left with what inside my bracket?
2x minus 1.
Perfect. So now what's my fully factored function, Olivia?
X minus 1 and then 2x plus 3.
Perfect. So in order for me to determine if it's a maximum or a minimum, it means I have to find the vertex. How do I use this factored equation to help me find my vertex? Olivia, what do I need? What pieces of information do I need? What's one of them?
The x-intercept.
Okay, I need my x-intercepts first. And what would they be? This one's a bit harder because it has a 2 in front of it. So remember, I have to set 2x minus 1 equal to 0 and 2x plus 3 equal to 0. So, Olivia, do the first one.
It would be 1 over 2.
Yeah, so 2x is equal to 1 because I'm going to move this negative 1 over to leave the x on the left side and divide both sides by 2. So I get x is equal to positive 1 over 2. Or in your guys' case, since you don't like fractions, 0.5.
Thank you.
So now what's my next one? How do I find the next x-intercept, Cynthia?
Oh, you move the 3 over.
Yep, perfect.
And then divide it negative 3 by 2, which is negative 5.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. So what's my next step into
Sorry,
finding?
It's negative 3 over 2.
Yep.
Okay.
Because that positive 3 moves over, which makes it negative. Yes, sir? Yep, we find my axis of symmetry. And how can we do that, Sarah?
0.5 plus negative.
Divided by 2. What's 0.5 plus negative 1.5? Negative 1 over 2. So that is my axis of symmetry. Or negative 0.5. Perfect. So what's the last thing to do? They might as well just have asked us in this question to find every single piece of information.
Yeah, I know.
Olivia?
Plug in the axis of symmetry into the x values.
Yep. So vertex. So I know x is equal to negative 0.5. Whoops, that was a ugly 5. So I'm going to plug it into my factored equation, which is g of negative 0.5 is equal to 2 times negative 0.5 minus 1 times 2 times negative 0.5 plus 3. So what does my first bracket give us? Brooklyn?
-1, which is always 1.
Negative 1 minus 1, which is
Is -2.
perfect. And what does my second bracket give us?
-1 plus 3.
Which is?
2.
So I don't know if you've noticed, but when you're subbing them back into factored form, what do you notice about both of the brackets and their numbers? They're the same, but opposite signs. Okay? So as you can see, I have negative 2 times 2. In the previous example, I have 2 times negative 2. There always been 2. Wow. I have, let's see here, that didn't work. But usually, when you sub it into factored form, your two brackets are going to have the same numbers, except the signs are going to be opposite of each other. So what's next?
Isn't like that. Does that mean that you did something wrong, or
If you have a different number, that means you probably messed up. So it should always have the same number, just the opposite sign. So, and the reason being is because, like I said, the axis of symmetry splits the graph right in the middle. So technically, when you sub it back in, those two values should just be the opposite of each other. So what's negative 2 times 2? So what's my vertex?
0.5 negative 0.5 and then -4.
Yep, there you go. That's your vertex. We're good? Oh, we have one more question.
Okay.
We have 14, what, F? Or 14, yeah. I can see why you don't understand how to do B.
I got A.
Okay, for B, did you try using it with the factored form?
I don't know. What I did was instead of the 175 in the equation, I tried to change it to 1. But I know
No, not right.
Yeah.
Okay, so 14b. So 14, I have the function h of t is equal to negative 5t squared plus 10t plus 175. Okay, so this is basically just modeling an equation where a ball is thrown off a cliff and it has that function. So 14b is asking, when will the ball...
It's 175, right?
Yeah, 175. When will the ball reach a ledge that is 100 meters above the water? So what is that question asking me? It's telling me where to find the ball when it's how many meters above the water? 100. So I can't just replace 175 with 100 because, that's not allowed because my ball doesn't start at 100 meters above the water, it starts at 175. I can't plug in 100 for t because it's saying when is the ball 100 meters above the water. So what is the only other option for us to plug this 100 into?
For H?
Yeah, for h. Because it's asking me when is the ball 100 meters above the water. So my left side of the equation is the height, okay? So because it's asking me when the height is 100, I have to plug in the left side for 100. So sub 100 for h of t. So I get 100 is equal to negative 5t squared plus 10t plus 175. So now I need to come up with a whole new trinomial. So what do you think I'm going to do with that 100 on my left side? I'm going to move it over. So I get 0, because nothing is left over on the left side, is equal to negative 5t squared plus 10t plus 175 minus 100, which means I get negative 5t squared plus 10t, and what's 175 minus 100? 75. Okay. So now I need to figure out how to factor this trinomial. So before we do anything, before you guys do sum and product,
You can divide it by 5.
positive or negative? What's the number in front of the t squared? Negative 5. Always, if your number in front of the first variable is a negative, factor out the negative. If it's a positive, factor out the positive. So I'm going to take out a negative 5, which means I divide everything here by negative 5. So what is left inside of my bracket, Cynthia?
It's just supposed to be 75, right? Not 1.
Oh, sorry, 75. Thank you. So if I divide everything by negative 5, what is left inside of my bracket?
T squared minus
Mhm.
2
To what?
t.
Okay. Minus 25? No. Negative 15? You're close, Jade. All right. So a lot of you forget to do this, especially on the quiz on your test. You generally like to leave it like this. But you have to ask yourselves, am I able to factor out that trinomial? In this case, are you able to? You sure? What's my product?
Product is 15.
Negative 15.
And then the sum would be negative 2.
So what are two numbers that multiply to negative 15 and add up to negative 2? Livia. Yep. Which one's positive, which one's negative?
5.
Yep. Oh, so okay, let's try 5 times negative 3. That's negative 15. What's 5 plus negative 3? Like,
Oh, it's negative
Yeah.
2. Okay, sorry, then it's negative 5.
Yeah. perfect. Because negative 5 plus 3 gives me negative 2. Perfect. So now, what is my fully factored form? Remember, you have to keep your negative 5 there because it doesn't go away. So what are my two brackets now? Remember, I used the factor of negative 5 and positive 3. Ashton.
T minus 5 and t.
Yep. T minus 5 and t plus 3. Okay. Yes,
What
Cynthia.
if midway we forget that it's t and instead write x?
Take off half more. Okay. So now this is gonna help us find when the ball hit, at what time the ball hit 100 meters. So what do I have to do with those factors? Sarah? Yep. So what would they be?
It would be positive 5 and
Perfect. Positive 5 and negative 3. Which one can we not use? Remember, we're dealing with time. Which one wouldn't count? Negative 3. And why?
because time.
So this one, so I like to write D and E doesn't exist since time is not negative. So what would your statement be? Therefore, the ball hits 100 meters at
Wait, you said minutes or hours?
height in seconds.
Okay, so 5.
Therefore, the ball has a height of 100 meters
So how do you
At-
know that it's 100 meters?
because it says in the question.
Okay.
It's asking us to when will the ball reach a ledge that is 100 meters above the water.
Okay, so it's just asking for the time.
And we said negative 3 doesn't count because you know time's never negative. So we can. Yes.
Will one of them always be negative so we know which one to use?
Sometimes the both of them may be positive solutions. So it might be twice and 2 times that the ball hits the same height. Because if you think about it, a parabola is just a U-shaped graph, right? So if I draw it like this, how many times do I hit the same height? Twice. Okay. So there will always be at two different points where the graph has the same height or the same y value. The only point that has one singular y value is what? So the only point on the graph that only has one singular y value is what? The vertex. Because the vertex never repeats, right? So every other point on the parabola is always going to have the same y value at two different x values. Okay, you guys stop recording. So we will